What if the history of North India changed because of one question? Not who had the oldest kingdom, not who had the largest army, not who owned the richest temple. Not who had the oldest kingdom, not who had the largest army, not who owned the richest temple. But this question, who could control Delhi? For centuries, northern India had been a world of powerful kingdoms, sacred cities, warrior clans, temples, forts, and trade routes. But near the end of the 12th century, something began moving toward the plains from the northwest. Armies crossed the mountain passes, cavalry entered Punjab. New rulers looked at India not only as a place to raid, but as a land to govern. And slowly, one city became the center of the story: Delhi. The mystery is not simply how Delhi was conquered. The deeper mystery is this: why did Delhi become the key? Why did foreign military commanders, Turkic generals, Afghan nobles, Persian-speaking administrators, Indian warriors, merchants, scholars, and builders all gather around this city? Indian warriors, merchants, scholars, and builders all gather around this city. Why did control of Delhi begin to mean control of North India? And how did the Delhi Sultanate change the political, religious, architectural, and urban future of India? This is not just the story of one dynasty. It is the story of a door between Central Asia and India, a door between older regional kingdoms and a new imperial order, a door that once opened changed the history of the subcontinent. In the late 12th century, North India was not empty. It was not weak. It was not waiting to be conquered. It was full of rulers, alliances, cities, forts, and wealth. But it was also divided. And division is often the crack through which history enters. From the northwest came Muhammad of Ghor. He was not the first conqueror to enter India through this route. But he was different in one important way. He did not only want treasure, he wanted control. A raider can come and leave. A ruler must stay. A ruler needs cities, forts, officials, roads, revenue, soldiers who obey, local elites who cooperate, and above all, a center. In North India, that center would become Delhi. In 1191, Muhammad of Ghor was defeated by Prithviraj Chauhan at the First Battle of Tarain. For a moment, it looked like the old order had survived. A foreign army had come, a powerful Indian ruler had stopped it. The story could have ended there. But history often turns not on the first battle, but on the return. In 1192, Muhammad of Ghor came back. At the Second Battle of Tarain, Prithviraj Chauhan was defeated. One battle did not instantly conquer India, but it opened the gate. It weakened a major power near Delhi. It gave the Ghurids a foothold in the North Indian plain, and it sent a message across the region. Something new had arrived. 2 years later, in 1194, another major battle took place at Chandawar. The Ghurid forces defeated Jayachandra of the Gahadavala kingdom. Now the road toward the middle Ganges plain was more exposed. The balance of power in North India had shifted. But victory created a new problem. Who would hold the land after the army moved on? The answer came through a man who began not as a king, but as a military slave. Qutb-ud-Din Aibak. Aibak was a lieutenant of Muhammad of Ghor. He rose through a military world where skill, loyalty, and command could lift a man from servitude to power. After the Ghurid victories, he became one of the key figures in holding the new territories in India. And this is where the story changes, because conquest is one thing, rule is another. A battlefield victory can last one day. A state must survive every day after. It must collect revenue, manage cities, reward soldiers, control governors, negotiate with local elites, and create symbols that tell everyone clearly and publicly that power has changed hands. In Delhi, Aibak began building. The Qutb complex became one of the most powerful symbols of the new order. The Quwwat-ul-Islam Mosque rose in Delhi. The Qutb Minar began to climb into the sky. It was not only architecture, it was a message. A new power had entered Delhi, and it wanted to be seen. But look closer. The Qutb complex is not just a story of replacement. It is a story of collision, adaptation, craftsmanship, transformation. Older Indian building traditions met Islamic architectural forms. Local stoneworkers shaped new political symbols. Arches, inscriptions, courtyards, pillars, and towers created a new visual language. Delhi was being rewritten, not erased completely, not continued unchanged, rewritten. And this is why the Delhi Sultanate matters. It did not simply bring new rulers to North India. It created a new political language, a new court culture, a new urban identity, a new relationship between military power, religious authority, administration, and architecture. But in 1206, the story became uncertain again. Muhammad of Ghor died. And suddenly the question became dangerous. Who now controlled the Ghurid territories in India? Was Delhi only a distant outpost, or could it become the capital of a new kingdom? Aibak claimed power in India. The Delhi Sultanate had begun. But it was fragile. A throne is easy to claim. It is much harder to keep. The early Delhi Sultanate was surrounded by danger. Rival commanders wanted power. Local rulers resisted. Old political networks still mattered. The Mongols were expanding across Asia with terrifying speed. Delhi was not yet an empire. It was a question mark. Would it survive? Or would it disappear as quickly as it had appeared? Then came Iltutmish. He did what conquerors often fail to do. He turned victory into government. Under Iltutmish, Delhi became more than a captured city. It became a capital. He strengthened the young sultanate. He stabilized authority after years of uncertainty. He helped transform military conquest into political structure. In a movie, this is the moment when the audience realizes the outsiders are no longer passing through. They are building a state. Delhi changes from military camp to capital. Markets grow. Gates are guarded. Officials enter buildings. Coins are struck. Documents are sealed. But every new state must answer one dangerous question. Who belongs? Turkic military elites, Persian-speaking administrators, Afghan nobles, Indian converts, local Hindu chiefs, merchants, scholars, landholders. The Sultanate was not a simple block of one people ruling another. It was a complicated political machine, and that machine needed constant negotiation. At the top stood the Sultan. But beneath him were nobles, governors, soldiers, tax collectors, judges, scholars, craftsmen, local rulers, and landholding groups. Every ruler had to solve the same problem. How do you rule a land where your army may come from one world, your court language from another, and most of your subjects from many others? That is the real drama of the Delhi Sultanate. Not only battle, governance. Not only conquest, control. Not only religion, power. For much of the 13th century, Delhi survived. But survival was not enough. Eventually, one dynasty would push the Sultanate from a northern power into an imperial force, the Khaljis, and the most famous of them was Alauddin Khalji. If the early Sultanate asked, "Can Delhi survive?" Alauddin Khalji asked a more dangerous question. How far can Delhi reach? Under Alauddin, the Sultanate expanded with remarkable force. Gujarat, Rajasthan, major forts, the Deccan. Regions that once seemed far beyond Delhi's direct reach were pulled into its political and military orbit. But expansion was only half the story. Because while Delhi looked south, danger came from the north, the Mongols. Across Eurasia, Mongol armies had shattered kingdoms and terrified rulers from China to the Islamic world to Europe. For Delhi, the Mongol threat was not a distant rumor. It was real. Imagine Delhi at night. The gates closed, the markets quiet, watchmen on the walls, rumors moving faster than horses. The Mongols are coming. For any ruler, this could have been the end. But Delhi survived. And because Delhi survived, the Sultanate gained confidence. It began to imagine itself not just as a kingdom, but as an empire. This is one of the great turning points. Before the Delhi Sultanate, many powerful empires had emerged from within the subcontinent. the Mauryas, the Guptas, the Cholas. But the Delhi Sultanate represented a different kind of imperial formation. It was connected to Central Asian military traditions. It used Persianate court culture. It ruled over a deeply Indian landscape. It brought Islamic institutions into the political center of North India. And from that combination came something new, not purely foreign, not purely local, a medieval Indo-Islamic political world. This world would later shape the Mughals. But before the Mughals, Delhi itself had to become the center of gravity. The Sultanate changed how power worked in North India. It changed what a capital could be. It changed what architecture could say. It changed how rulers imagined empire, and it changed the future of Delhi forever. But every empire contains pressure inside itself. After the Khaljis came the Tughlaqs, and among them one ruler stands out like a character from a historical tragedy. Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Brilliant, ambitious, restless, a ruler of enormous imagination and enormous difficulty. He wanted a stronger state, a wider empire, a more centralized system. He looked beyond Delhi. He looked toward the Deccan. He imagined a realm that could connect North India and the South more tightly than before. But imagination is not the same as execution. The farther Delhi reached, the harder it became to hold. The Deccan was not just a distant region. It was strategically important. If a ruler could control both North India and the Deccan, he could imagine a subcontinental empire. But distance creates strain. Officials lose control, local powers rise, armies become expensive, communication slows, and the dream of perfect control begins to break. The Tughlaq period showed both the power and the weakness of the Delhi Sultanate. Delhi could reach far, but it could not always hold what it touched. And then came one of the greatest shocks in the city's medieval history. Timur. In 1398, Timur invaded North India. He came from Central Asia, already known as a conqueror who had shaken kingdoms across the region. Delhi, the great symbol of Sultanate power, was exposed. The city that had claimed to be the center of power was suddenly vulnerable. This was not only a military disaster, it was a psychological earthquake. The aura of Delhi is broken. After Timur, the Delhi Sultanate survived in name. But it never fully returned to the power it had known under Alauddin Khalji or the early Tughlaqs. The Sayyid dynasty ruled a reduced state. Then came the Lodis, an Afghan dynasty that restored some strength to Delhi. But the old question returned. Who could control Delhi? And this time, the answer would come again from beyond the northwest frontier. Babur. By 1526, the Delhi Sultanate was ruled by Ibrahim Lodi. He held the old capital. He commanded a large army. He represented the last ruling house of the Sultanate. But his rule was troubled. Nobles were dissatisfied. Regional tensions were rising. And Babur saw an opportunity. By 1526, the Delhi Sultanate was ruled by Ibrahim Lodi. He held the old capital. He commanded a large army. He represented the last ruling house of the Sultanate. But his rule was troubled. Nobles were dissatisfied. Regional tensions were rising. And Babur saw an opportunity. At Panipat, north of Delhi, the final act began. This was not just one battle. It was the end of one political age and the beginning of another. Ibrahim Lodi stood with the weight of the Delhi Sultanate behind him. Babur brought new tactics, field artillery, and disciplined battlefield organization. The result changed Indian history. Ibrahim Lodi was defeated. The Lodi dynasty ended, the Delhi Sultanate ended, and the Mughal Empire began. But here is the twist. The Mughals did not appear on an empty stage. They inherited the world the Delhi Sultanate had built. Delhi as a center of power, Persianate court culture, Indo-Islamic architecture, military roots from the northwest. The idea that a ruler based in North India could claim authority over vast regions of the subcontinent. All of this had been shaped before the Mughals reached their height. For more than 3 centuries, the Delhi Sultanate had changed the rules. So what was the Delhi Sultanate really? Was it a foreign conquest? Yes, partly. Its military origins came from outside India's older political order. Was it an Indian kingdom? Yes, over time. It ruled from Indian cities. It depended on Indian revenue. It used Indian labor and craftsmanship. It negotiated with Indian elites. It reshaped Indian society. The Delhi Sultanate did not turn India into something completely new overnight, but it changed the direction of North Indian history. It shifted the political center toward Delhi. It connected India more deeply with the Persianate and Central Asian worlds. It created architectural forms that still define Delhi's memory. It introduced new ruling elites and new political institutions. It changed the balance between regional kingdoms and centralized power. And it prepared the ground for the Mughal Empire. The past is still visible, and this brings us back to the original mystery. Why Delhi? Because Delhi sat near the routes from the northwest into the Gangetic Plain. Because it could connect military power, agriculture, trade, and administration. Because whoever controlled Delhi could project authority across North India. Because Delhi became more than a city. It became a claim. To hold Delhi was to say, I am not just the ruler of one fortress. I am not just the ruler of one region. I am a ruler of Hindustan. That is why conquerors wanted it. That is why dynasties fought for it. That is why the Sultanate built in stone. That is why Babur marched toward it. And that is why, even centuries later, Delhi remains one of the most powerful symbols in Indian history. The Delhi Sultanate began with battles. But its legacy was not only on the battlefield, its legacy was the new map of power it created. Before the Sultanate, Delhi was important. After the Sultanate, Delhi was unavoidable. And once Indian history began to turn around Delhi, every empire that came after had to answer the same question. Who holds the city? Who controls the gate? Who owns the future of North India? This was the Delhi Sultanate. The moment North India's power map changed, the moment Delhi became the key, and the moment the road to the Mughal Empire truly began.